Welcome to the January 10th, 2022 Select Board meeting and Happy New Year. In accordance with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law by Governor Baker, tonight's Select Board meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom and will not be open to the public for physical attendance. The meeting is being recorded, live streamed, and cable broadcast by the Easton Community Access Television, which is Comcast 98 and Verizon 23. And on ECAT's website at www.eastoncat.org. This meeting is closed captioned for the hearing impaired. If you're watching on your computer, you'll see a CC button on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. If you're watching at home and you have a comment or a question, you can email the board at selectboard@easton.ma.us. If you're watching from an electronic device, please pose your question on the Q&A feature of the Zoom portal, and remember to include your name and address for our minutes. At this time, I would like to invite each select board member to state their name to ensure that we have a quorum.
Craig Barger.
Mark Lamb.
Jamie Stebbins.
Jennifer Stacy.
And Dottie Fulgenetti. Nice to see everybody tonight. So the first item that we have is a timed item. It's a public hearing. And Craig, if you want to read the public notice on that.
Sure. The Select Board of Easton, as licensing authorities, will hold a public hearing via remote participation using the Zoom platform on Monday, January 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. to consider and act upon the application of RNA Incorporated doing business as Pops Fine Wines and Liquors for a change of ownership interest for an existing Section 15 off-premises package store all alcoholic beverages license for premises situated at 670 Depot Street, Easton, Mass., with a plan on file, the Select Board's office.
Great. So we have a change of ownership interest for an existing Section 15 off-premises package store, all alcoholic beverages license for RNA Incorporated doing business as Pops Fine Wines and Liquors, 670 Depot Street. As proposed, Robert Hamalian Jr. and Aram Hamalian will be added as owners. This application has been circulated to town departments with no concerns. And there is a recommendation in here, but we are bringing in Pops of Easton to tell us a little bit about what's happening. So Pops, if you can hear us, you are on mute. If you're on your phone and you press *6, you should be able to unmute that way. Might be having some technical troubles there.
Oh, there we go.
Excellent.
We can see you. We can't, you're still muted.
You're getting closer though.
If you're on a computer, you should see a microphone in the bottom left-hand panel of your Zoom. Alternatively, if you have a keyboard on your device, Alt+A could do it. Michael, can we manually override the mute for an attendee?
So I'm asking him to unmute. Bob, do you see a request to unmute? You can just click OK. No luck.
Is there a phone number?
Call in on his cell phone. The phone number is 646-558-8656. Does he need the webinar ID, Michael?
He does. Bob, it's 850-1374-4967.
Now we have to look for him in the attendees.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye.
So he'll have to unmute his phone.
I think can you hear me? Oh, now I'm getting feedback. Can you hear me okay?
It's
We
echoing.
can. You may want to leave on your computer and only be on your phone.
Okay. So get out of the. Okay, I left the web bar.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds great now.
Thanks for hanging
Great.
in there with us tonight. So we have the change of ownership in front of us, and we have in our packet some detail on it. But for the people at home and for this board, if you'd like to just tell us a little bit about what's going on with the change of ownership and what that means to your business, and what changes we would or would not see.
Okay. Yep. So my name is Robert Hamalian, and my wife Linda have two sons, Rob Jr. and Aram Hamalian, and they have been working in the business for at least 6, 8, 10. Well, the older one's been working longer, so let's say 8 years and 10 and 12 years. And we'd like to turn over ownership to them. There won't be any changes. They both work the store full time. All 4 of us are there quite a bit, but the boys seem to be working more hours as my wife try to step back a little bit, but we're still there a lot of hours, but we'd like them to take over. So we'd like to give them some ownership, and you know, that's about it. Just for financial planning and for them to be part of it financially, as well as the face to Pops.
Sure. Well, let me see if there's any questions from the board. Craig, do you have any questions, comments?
I do my business at Pops and have for years, but I don't have any questions. I just thank them for being such good business people in Easton.
Thank you very much.
Same. Thank you for all you've done, especially through the pandemic. I know a lot of people who have gone there a few times.
Thank you very much.
Jamie. Jamie, we can't hear you again. All right, you'll have to log out and come back in. Jen.
No questions, just a general comment that every time I go in there, everyone's so pleasant and friendly, and the store is so clean. It's wonderful. So thank you for all your hard work and for what you do for the community.
You're welcome. It's a wonderful town. We enjoy being there.
And this is Dottie again, and I would just want to, reiterate what everyone else has said. And also, it's really great to see, somebody who's built up a business in our town and then is able to pass that down to their children. And you must have such pride to be able to do that. And I'm sure they really appreciate it as well. Working together in a family, I'm sure, can have its good points and probably some challenges in there too. So to be able to stick with it for this long and really just have such a successful business, and we appreciate you keeping it in Easton. You've been here for a long time, and people may not know that when there are different events by different organizations in town, you're like the first to step up and help quite a bit. And I know that you have been a partner with a lot of different events, and we appreciate that. And it's great to have a business in Easton that we can go to for that kind of support. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you all for kind words.
Well, the comments here say that there have been no concerns from any of the departments. And so I would entertain a motion to approve the change of ownership interest for the existing Section 15 off-premises package store, all alcoholic beverage license for R&A doing business as Pops Fine Wines and Liquors.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger and Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. So thank you so much. Have a great night, and we appreciate you bearing with us through the technical difficulties.
Well, thank you for bearing with me, and I appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one we have is a common victualler license for Starbucks Corporation, 33 Robert Drive in Easton. We have an application for the common vic license for Starbucks Corporation, doing business as Starbucks Coffee at 33 Robert Drive. The application has been reviewed by the town departments, and there is a recommendation here with a couple of requirements. But Mr. Brennan, welcome tonight.
Thank you, Dottie. My name's Dan Brennan. I handle permits and licenses for Starbucks. We have a new store under construction at 33 Robert Drive. Hoping to open it mid-February. So we're here for a common victualler license.
That's terrific. Any comments or questions from the board, Greg?
I just know that a number of my friends are ecstatic that there's a Starbucks in Easton. So congratulations and thanks for doing business in Easton.
Thanks.
Yes,
Happy to be
likewise.
there.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing your business to Easton. That area is there's gonna be a lot more development in that area, and I have a feeling this is gonna be a very successful operation.
Thank you.
I have mixed feelings because of the amount of time my wife will now be spending there versus at our house. So I'm going to leave it at that. But thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Jamie.
No questions, just agreeing with everybody that there's a lot of excitement about this across the spectrum. And, thank you for choosing Easton.
Thank you.
Will there still be a Starbucks in Target, or will that be?
I would assume, yes, it would remain there. So for the most part, all Starbucks stores are run by corporate, so there's no franchisees, except for ones located in Targets or Barnes and Noble. Those are run by Target or Barnes and Noble, not by the corporation. So I think those will remain. That one would remain. Yep.
Great. Well, I think it's great to have a coffee shop down in that area of town, a standalone, and have more options for people. So a lot of times people go for, I know I have a lot of business meetings in coffee shops, and meet people for coffee, and even go in with my laptop to get some work done if I'm on my way someplace. So I think it's a great location, and very excited for you to be in Easton. So with that said, we will vote on this subject to the applicant satisfying the pre-opening inspection requirements and obtaining a new food service permit with the Board of Health prior to opening. And I think that is the only other conditions that we have. So with that, Craig, if you'd like to make a motion.
So moved. Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Back to you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. So congratulations, and we appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Bye.
Okay, next we are gonna go into an executive session under purpose 3 of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. We'll be discussing with town council litigation updates on the following: Easton MHC versus the Rent Control Board 3, Town of Easton, etc. et al. Versus Easton MHC et al. Easton versus Altwine, Whitman versus Easton ZBA, and AJ Virgilio versus Town of Easton and Woodard and Curran. So we're just going to get some updates on that. I think it's probably going to take about a half an hour or so if people are watching at home or waiting in the attendees. And we'll be making a motion with a roll call to enter into executive session, and then we'll come back. So Craig, if you'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session,
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
roll call
Barger,
vote.
yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. All right, we'll see you in the other Zoom room. Waiting for Jamie. I think Jamie got lost. Well, I think I'm going to go into item 5, and Jamie can catch up. Hopefully he'll get in before we get too deep into it. So item 5 is a discussion and vote for a refinance approval and select board signatures for Winterberry Hill, an affordable housing unit. We do have a memo in our packet. And did I see him come in? Nope. Are we going to move Wayne in? There he is. Oh, there's Jamie.
Yes. Wayne is joining now, and these are similar votes for refinancing on affordable units that the board has had before them in the past. But Wayne, could you just brief the board on the details of this in the next item, please?
Absolutely. So the Winterberry Hills is a refinance. Connor and I were in communication. No, I'm sorry, this is incorrect. This is a refinance, and this board considered this earlier in December. The applicant then came back to us with a proposal for a different refinancing situation with their current bank at an even lower interest rate, therefore saving them even more money. So I circled back with the state and redid their application, re-verified all their information. And one thing that is a little bit different is in previous years, the state had asked that the board put their notarized signatures on a recordable document so that it could be recorded at the Registry of Deeds, enter into the chain of title. DHCD advises that that's no longer required. They record all that information with their own documents attached to the deed. But what they do need for their files and for our municipal files is a letter proving that the executive of the town, in this case Dottie, and the board, the select board, have approved the refinance. So the ask tonight, after answering any questions you might have, would be for you to vote to approve the refinance request and authorize the chair, Dottie, to sign the approval letter.
Anybody have any questions about this? Just a little bit of a background. Winterberry Hills is a 40B, and with 40B for sale units versus 40B rental, the affordable units are deeded in perpetuity. So somebody who owns an affordable unit cannot take advantage of the inflated values of the home. So they can only, if they were to sell it, they can only sell it for a small percentage above what they paid for it. So it does remain affordable in perpetuity. So the only way that they can really get some relief on that is to be able to refinance when the rates are low. So we always welcome that, and it's very helpful to them. And it's something that we're required to do, you know, and have DHCD sign off on it as well. So we've done this, you know, a handful of times, and it's just pretty much standard.
Yeah.
So with that, Craig, if you want to to make a motion to vote to approve the refinancing and to authorize me to sign the letter.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. So the next one is a discussion and vote for a compliance certificate approval and select board signatures authorization for Easton Country Estates Affordable Unit.
Thank you. And this is where I tripped up earlier. So I'd been in conversation with Connor over the summer. When an affordable ownership unit is resold, the affordability restriction, almost all of them have a provision that the town has a right of first refusal. And this is so that the municipality is made aware when a property transfers that an affordable restricted unit is changing hands, and to make sure that it stays affordable. And so the town waived its right of first refusal in August, and then I worked with DHCD to confirm the resale price. There's a clause in affordability restrictions that somewhat resets the price to market conditions and such. And then DHCD contracted with a marketing agent to hold a lottery process, qualified an applicant, and then it has sold to the new owner. And DHCD and the closing attorneys reached out to us a couple of weeks ago and asked that we sign a recordable compliance certificate so that that could be entered into the chain of title at the registry. So future title searches will show that, yes, the town has actually reviewed, as has DHCD, all the provisions of the transfer, the updated and re-recorded affordability restriction, the price certificate is what they call that. So this somewhat similar would be a request after I answer any questions you might have, that the board approve the resale and the compliance certificate and authorize the chair to sign that compliance certificate.
Any questions from the board?
Nope.
So Craig, if you want to make a motion to approve the resale and compliance certificate and authorize me to sign the compliance certificate form.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger, Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. Great. Thank you so much, Wayne. I
Awesome.
appreciate all your work. And, looking back on how the Affordable Housing Trust has really grown and changed and the amazing work that they're doing, these were things that we didn't really have a lot of, back several years ago. So it's really made tremendous progress, and we really appreciate your support on that.
Thank you. It's pretty exciting and very gratifying to be part of it. So thank you all.
Thank you, Wayne. Have a good night.
You
Thanks,
too.
Wayne.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Okay, next up is a contract award for Southworth Milton CAT, a 2021 skid steel loader, DPW 2022-16.
Sure. So actually for the next three items, 7, 8, and 9, Dave Field, DPW Director, is here to answer any questions the board will have. This first one is probably the most straightforward. It's just replacing a new skid steer, replacing the cat, replacing a 2003 Bobcat that we have. This is for a sidewalk plow.
And so this is a capital request of $85,000. A town meeting approved the capital request of $85,000. And the total contract amount is $89,025. So $4,025 will come from the ice and snow operating funds for the 8-foot snow pusher. Is that right, David?
That's correct.
Any questions from the board? I know that you did an amazing job with the sidewalks this weekend, so around where I was, I could see that. Craig, if you'd like to make a motion to award the contract to Southworth Milton CAT for DPW 2022-16 in the amount of $89,025.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger, Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. Next up is a contract award to Hart Engineering Corporation for Red Mill Road Water Treatment Plant Construction, DPW 2022-05.
Dave, you want to take it away?
Sure. We've been before you on several different contracts related to design. And this is the first one for construction for the Red Mill Road Water Treatment Plant, which is servicing wells 3, 5, and 7. It's a green sand plant. The project was bid out November 23rd, and Hart Engineering was the apparent low bidder at $12,123,900. It's within the estimate that we hoped, and this is part of an overall project that's $15.6 million. Environmental Partners did, has worked with Hart before and checked references, and they do recommend award to Hart, and I concur.
Terrific. Any questions from the board? All right, Craig, if you would like to make a motion to award the contract DPW 2022-05 to Hart Engineering in the amount of $12,123,900.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger, Lamb,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. Next is the discussion and vote PMA Consultants Owners Project Manager Services for Police, Fire, and DPW Municipal Facilities Building Project, DPW 2022-11.
Sure. So as the board is aware, we began the work this summer, picking up with a report left off by Dave Field right before COVID, working with the Municipal Building Committee, identifying the outstanding repair and replacement needs of our municipal buildings. That was in 2019. Through COVID, we've been focusing on the construction of the Blanche Ames Elementary School project. And now that we're in hopefully one of the final years of construction there, we felt it was time, as did the board, to pick the ball back up on municipal facilities. We put forward a funding request for $500,000 at town meeting this November to begin the feasibility phase of this project. We had a request for qualifications out, I think a week after that town meeting approval, and through November and December vetted the firms who submitted for owners project management services. That's kind of a first step of feasibility, is get an OPM on board, and then they work with us to build a team and bring on designers and start the work of design and engineering. And we had 7 proposals for the project, which was great. The town has selection criteria for design services, which we leaned on for the OPM process. I appointed a review committee that included the public safety and public works chiefs involved in these 3 buildings that will need to be replaced, as well as the chair of the municipal building committee and Jamie as a representative of the select board. We reviewed these at public meetings, had a second meeting, brought in the top 2 firms and did interviews, including PMA, who's here tonight as well, to give a brief presentation of their proposal. And that committee's opinion, which I agreed with, was that PMA was the top proposal. We negotiated a fee that I think is reasonable, and we have a contract for owners project management services for your consideration tonight. I did ask Chad and Walter to come and just give a brief overview of the presentation they gave to that committee, because this will be such an important project for the town, and to answer any questions the board would have. So Mike, if you could move Chad and Walter into the panel.
Hi, Walter.
Hi, everyone.
Walter.
Hi, Chad.
Everybody, good evening. Sorry I got cut out there a little bit when it pulled us out of the meeting and put us back in. Are we clear to present and run through the materials?
Yes, Chad, your mic is a little bit distorted. I don't know if it's the distance.
Acting a little funny lately. Is that any better?
No,
No.
Walter might have to do all the talking.
That was all part of Chad's plan.
I think it might have been.
That's not a problem. I can, Chad, you want me to get started?
Sure.
All right, I'll share my screen. Beginning. Okay. So as we talked about briefly right there, Chad and I will run through our presentation because I think a lot of this stuff is going to be repetitive for a few people, but also kind of in depth. But we'll take it right through. So this is our proposed team. So it's really the core project team that's been working on the Easton.
Walter, I'm not seeing the screen. I don't know if it's just me.
I'm sorry. Did it not select?
No.
1 second.
My mic may be better now. Is that any better?
It is much better.
All right.
Perfect timing.
We can see it now.
Thank you, Walter, for pulling that together. All right. So as Walter was just saying, core project team. So we're very, very excited to be part of this project and be here tonight. So first, thank you all for that. The core team that we proposed for this project is myself and Walter. You, of course, all know us from the Blanche Ames Elementary School project. There are 4 other people that we propose to be a part of this team. One of them is site project manager Chris Leffler. Chris right now is full-time on the Blanche Ames site during the construction phase, and then the hope is that once that construction phase wraps up, he's able to roll right into this one. Also on the team, we've included Kevin Nigro as a project executive and Brian DeFilippis. Both of those have extensive public safety, so police and fire resumes across the state of Massachusetts. And then another somewhat familiar name is Megan Lamacchia. Megan is our community outreach coordinator. She was also involved in the Blanche Ames Elementary School projects during the community outreach effort. So a lot of the work products that many of you likely saw, Megan was involved in.
You probably just saw her as Megan Murphy, though.
Sure. So why PMA? Of course, we have that current existing relationship. We are actively working in the town. We are physically located in the town, right across from the police and fire station, where we will be for over another year on that project. So we're ready at a moment's notice. We do have the municipal resume. So across Massachusetts, there's 6 police stations, fire stations, 7 fire stations, 5 DPW projects, and a combined public safety project. And then, of course, the community outreach effort. This is something that's specific to each community. It really is a tailored formula for each community to find out what works and what doesn't. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Having just gone through this at the Blanche Ames Elementary School projects, we expect it to be a very similar process, trying to get the word out to the citizens of Easton and the taxpayers about this project and make sure everybody's educated and informed.
Absolutely. So I'll jump in here. So when we picked up the RFQ and kind of looking at what this project entails, our team saw 3 real challenges with this project, and the first being site selection. A lot of good opportunities in the school. Obviously, one we're very familiar with, which is the center school, but we're also very familiar with all the buildings in Easton at this point. 2 would be community outreach and advising the public and making sure that there's a transparent process throughout. We want to make sure that everyone knows about the in-depth study that's been completed. We want to build on that study that's been completed. We want to make sure that the community has all the information they need to make an educated decision when it does come time for a vote, because a little different than the MSBA project. Obviously, this project is going to be 100% on the taxpayers of Easton. So it's an investment in their community. They want to be sure that they're getting what they need. And then third, and kind of leading right from that, is the project funding. So PMA works quite hard with the district to make sure that the district has all the information they need for their bonding scenarios, make sure that they have all their information that they need to know when they're going to need funding for the project, what they're going to need funding for, and when that's going to be coming. So running through, we've built quite an extensive knowledge throughout the time in Easton. So we know where these buildings are, specifically the center school. We know that the Gill property is going to be looked at. We know where the current police, fire, EMS is. We know where the DPW is, and we know we've been in the DPW building quite a bit. So we know that that building has been taken care of, extensively by that crew. But none of these buildings at this point are meeting the needs of what these first responders and public works people are doing for the town of Easton. So there are significant downfalls in the buildings that are being managed by a great group of people. So the first thing we're going to be doing once we do get that architect on board is working through a site selection process. And it will look quite familiar to what we did with the MSBA project, the Blanche Ames School. Here you can see a graphic from that project. This is a picture of the center school. So, we know this site really well. We did study this quite a bit, but it is going to be quite a, one of the first and foremost buildings that's going to be thought to be reused, or possibly the site reused as opposed to demo and renovation. We have an extensive knowledge of that building, what can be done, what can't be done, based on structural conditions of that building, based on asbestos and abatement of that building that would be needed. Here you can see masonry walls, the structural bearing walls, wood beams, or masonry walls that are we're going to restrict any type of changes to that building. As we work through that process, what comes up are options for each of one of the projects. So it could be combined at a certain site, could be separate at a site, but you'll recognize this slide. We do run through as many options as the team can come up with that are feasible. And as you can see, the green, excuse me, on the slides are the positives of each site, and the reds are the negatives or lack of what that site is missing. We do try to look at this independent of cost on this format, and see what meets the needs of the town of Easton. So this will be done for the projects at their sites, and specifically what the sites can meet. And we'll run through all of those with the designer, with the group, that the building committee, and ultimately be making decisions and narrowing the selection of that down. As Chad mentioned, community outreach is really specific to the community that you're working in. So we know that the town of Easton really utilizes that project website, really utilizes the social media, the video updates, the posters and flyers around town, the community events. I know I've been to 2 or 3 harvest festivals, quite a few community forums with, I think, over 100 people, abutters meetings with almost every single abutter that is a neighbor to that project. Chad and I think, are in weekly, we get weekly emails from the abutters. If someone is at the site that they don't think is going to be there, they're in contact with us. And of course, town meeting, which was probably one of the best run town meetings I've seen over at Stonehill, and that was a great event. So community outreach is going to be huge for this project, as we mentioned, because this is a 100% taxpayer funded project. And PMA is going to be able to provide the information that's going to be going on those websites, working with the people that are going to be handling them, getting those reports and any type of information that needs to go up on them, so that the word can get out about this project. Here you can see a postcard that went out. I think we sent 2, possibly 3 rounds of these out to the taxpayers in Easton. And then on the right was the NRT festival project sign that was up when we were over at that event. Here you can see a sample of one of our projects, the Ballardville Fire Station, the project website. And we know, obviously, Easton has quite a good website set up already for this project. So it's really going to be key for PMA to get as much information, as much up-to-date information for that website to be updated as we move through, so that the entire community has the most up-to-date information too. Here's a sample website from our Wareham Elementary School project. I know this was really big for this school project that Chad worked on. And we've seen them come alive recently and be very helpful for the project. A lot of engagement. I think one of our projects Facebook page, I think I was talking to someone, has 18,000 engagements on the website over the past few months. So it was quite a heavy amount of traffic, but it's something that PMA can help the district with on that, and just another tool for public outreach. And then again, leading to project funding. So once we do that narrowing of the site selection, there are cost estimates that are done on each of the scenarios as we move down. And we help the district to understand, what the scope of the project is, and what the cost of that project is going to be, what benefits the district. Here you can see funding scenarios and total project costs. We'll be looking at total project costs for the school. This is for the school. This will be for tailored up for the combined facility. But what this really shows you is that over on the right here in the gray bars, the stacked bars, that is a base repair or a repair of those projects individually. And this is something we'll do for this project as well, to show that these buildings are going to need repairs and that the time to repair them is likely to be sooner rather than is later. Because if you attack these projects, over 5 years, over 10 years, and then over 15 years as individual projects, the escalation on these projects at this costing level is increasingly difficult to overcome over a 5, 10 year, 15, 20 year period. So when you're able to have an opportunity to attack 3 problems and solve it with 1, it is a really good opportunity for the district, and it's something that should be presented to them and shown to them. So this is a really important tool that PMA has come to utilize across all projects. Specifically, we've used it for the Blanche Ames, but it does show you what is coming down the road if it's not attacked at that point in time. I'll turn it over. Initially, the first portion of this chart will be used to assist the town in funding, which has already been completed. But at the end of schematic, the remaining portion of this graph is created. And this is what allows PMA to assist the district in their funding and cash flow needs over the life of the project. So at any point in time, we are tracking real cost versus committed cost versus out-of-pocket cost for the district. And this is what allows the district to be so advanced in their bonding scenarios and be able to have as much money on hand as they need, not over borrow, not under borrow, but be right on target. So something that is developed at each round of bidding, and something that's developed at each round of design as well. I'll turn it over to Chad as he can talk about the next steps.
Thanks, Walter. So big picture schedule, very high level. We're looking at our first initial step right out of the gate is designer procurement. Of course, we expect that to take anywhere from 1 to, at the upper limit, 3 months. From there, we'll roll into what we call preliminary design. That's really a collection of all options. We come back to the municipal building committee and this group with our findings, and then with that approval in hand, we proceed into preferred schematic report. So preferred schematic is the narrowing of the options, the selection of the preferred option. Once that preferred option has been selected, everyone agrees it is the most economical and meets all of the programmatic needs. We move that into schematic design, and then tentatively we are looking at a spring 2023 funding authorization. So again, this is very preliminary, but that's what we envision right out of the gate. And on to the next step. So the first 100 days for PMA, first thing we'll do is develop that designer RFS and get that over to project stakeholders for review and get their edits in, and then work with them to get that out on the street. And from there, we work right into the designer procurement and get a contract on board. And after that, we roll right into the feasibility study. So designer selection, again, real similar process. So it's a qualification-based selection. So we'll work with the selection panel to identify the designer that's most advantageous for the district's needs. And we'll establish the criteria and take care of the reference checks and identifying which designers meet each criteria. And we'll present that to the committee. Value management is something that we'll go through at each phase of this. So whether we need cost savings or not, we're going to identify the scope that's in the project, really for the benefit of everybody to understand what's in and what's out of the project. And it also helps the design team as well and the estimators. So this is something that we'll perform at each milestone, similar to the Blanche Ames project. Project delivery selection is another discussion that we'll have on this. So the 2 options available to us are lump sum, design, bid, build, and then CM at risk, which is a qualification-based selection. So we'll go through the pros and cons of each and the potential cost implications of each and schedule. Project contingencies, we will track right down to the dollar. We always look at all risk and all exposure. So here's just a sample data set. So we're looking at how far we are through a project and how much contingency is remaining. That's always a good metric. The last couple of slides here. Actually, that is the last slide. So with that, again, we are super excited to be part of this project and appreciative of the opportunity, and happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Great. Start with you, Craig. Any questions, comments?
I have a comment, and that is that I'm very impressed with the presentation. I was sitting for about an hour reading and reviewing it prior to this meeting, and once again, I'm pleased that that PMA is going to be the company that we do business with.
Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, much of the same. When I read that PMA was the one that was selected, I was very happy with that decision. I think that that was fantastic. You guys have done right by the town these past 4 years. We've had a great relationship. Looking forward to continue that relationship. And I think you guys are perfect for this role. And just reviewing the presentation, it's very exciting. I feel like it was 4 years ago when we were doing all of this for the school, and it was like, is this really happening? Like, might we actually see this one day? That's kind of like what I'm feeling right now. So it's really exciting.
Jamie?
Only question was on site selection. I know there's a few other sites that are not on your map right now that I assume that's where Dave and the rest of the teams will get involved, and department heads and Connor, and kind of bring up and add those, correct?
Yeah, we actually looked at a couple different sites during the prior project too. So all those are going to come right back through for evaluation. The two sites that we called out there were the initial assessment that I think Dave had authored, where he landed as probably two of the top sites. That's why we focused on those, but there are others.
Yeah, I just want to add to that for the press watching or anyone else, we are at a really early stage here, and that's one of the reasons why PMA's proposal was really competitive. Jamie, as you know, when we were reviewing it, is that outside of the more obvious ones of the municipal set aside on the Gill property, I want to be clear, we're not talking about the conservation restricted piece. There's a general piece of it that was purchased with general funds or perhaps under school, but there will be other pieces of real estate that we look at. Because they're much like when you're designing a school on site, you have to be sensitive to the timing of traffic flow, particularly for a site like fire station. You want to make sure that it's being located in a place that takes into account variables unique to a fire station, like dispatch times and the time it takes for them to reach certain places. So those are just preliminary potential sites identified, but by no means are we kind of earmarking or guaranteeing that's where it would be. I think one of the things identified in the proposed timeline over the summer for site assessment would include visioning sessions where we'll have public input sessions. We'll engage with stakeholders in the community, with boards and committees, and with members of the public to get feedback as well. So I just want to add to that we're certainly not broadcasting any kind of foregone conclusion at this point. There's a lot of land we need to look at.
No other questions. Thanks.
No questions for me, just a general comment that, this is a really important project for our community, and it makes me feel very confident that we have selected PMA for this part of the process, because your record speaks for itself, and the presentation was extremely thorough. So thank you.
And wrapping up, I agree with that. And I was on the committee when we selected PMA for the Bland James School, and also the designer. And these are big decisions. It's a lot of money. There's a lot that can go wrong, checking references. The compatibility is really important. If you've ever had work done in your house and you have contractors in there, and you develop a very close relationship with them, because you have to, things come up that you don't expect, changes, you have to roll through all of those things, and you have to really have a good communication pattern. And that's something that I've really appreciated in dealing with PMA, is that they've always been very open, very available, not just to the board members and the elected officials and the department heads, but also to the public. I mean, Walter was not exaggerating when he said he talks to the neighbors and, the people, particularly one of the abutting neighbors that has been to all of our meetings, I think she's going to be sad when it ends because she really has gotten a really deep relationship with this group, and in return, they've also over this time really understood the culture of our community, and the way that we make decisions, what our values are, and I think it's really great. It's great. I feel very comfortable. I don't have to have that big worry of the what if. So I'm very glad, and thank you, Jamie, for being a part of that committee that made that selection. And I think that having the feasibility study is so important because in my mind, I already have some preconceived ideas of what I think would look good or work or whatever. And that's the same way I felt with the Blanche James School. And you really are forced to go through a process where you look at every possible scenario, look at every configuration, and the process ultimately reveals the right spot. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out as well. And one other thing to add is that, with the MSBA program, Senator Brady and Senator Timilty both have bills in front of the legislature about creating an entity that's like the MSBA that would be used for municipal buildings. So we should be asking them about that every time we see them, even though Senator Brady is not going to be our senator when the redistricting happens. It's still important to him because he has other communities that also care about that. So if that was to happen in this time frame, that would be the perfect scenario. So fingers crossed, and definitely reach out to support this with your legislators. So with that, the fee for the services is $150,000 for the feasibility study phase, and then additional service allowance for estimating, printing, and other extra services are $18,700. So the contract total is $168,700.
That's correct.
Okay. So are we voting on, we're voting on the contract and the price?
Correct. Yeah, it would be yes, it would be a motion to award the contract to PMA for OPM services not to exceed $168,700.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger and Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Great. Well, congratulations, and congratulations to us. I look forward to working with you.
So we're
Absolutely.
looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Walter.
Chad.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chad.
Walter.
Thanks, everyone.
I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Bye.
And thanks for being here, David.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, David. Have a good night.
Next is the town administrator COVID update.
Sure. Thank you, Dottie. Is my screen showing all right?
Yep.
Great. So as we've made practice of for longer than we would all like at this point, we try to keep the board and the public and anyone watching informed on what data we're looking at here on the town level that's informing our decisions on services we're offering and actions we're taking dealing with the pandemic. So I'm trying to consolidate this to be a shorter presentation and moving things to a table format so we can just hit on those relevant data points all at once. So since your last meeting, which was not long ago, 3 weeks, obviously the United States is in the midst of a kind of unprecedented surge in COVID cases being driven by the new Omicron variant. We've seen almost a 20% increase in the total cases for the entire duration of the pandemic in the past 3 weeks through the holidays, going from 50 to 60 million in only those 3 weeks. So far, the one kind of silver lining to date has been that it does seem that with the new variant, which is significantly more transmissible, and there are more breakthrough cases happening, that the level of fatalities isn't following the kind of explosive surge in cases. So that has not grown as significantly. So the average amount of new cases per day in the US was at 130,000 last we met. It's now nearing 600,000 per day. Again, these are numbers that we've never seen before, and speak to just the incredible contagiousness of this variant. Hospitalizations have increased in the United States by 75% over the holidays, from 61,000 to 108,000. That is nearing the most ever during the course of a pandemic. I think that those are data points that sometimes sound counterintuitive. You hear a lot of coverage that Omicron is milder, and the prevalence of vaccines results in, on an individual basis, usually less severe outcomes. And then you say, well, how can that be true if the hospitals have so many people in them? So if something is, half as severe, or, twice as mild, however you want to think about it, but 10 times as many people are being infected, you still have 5 times the amount of people going to the hospital, right? So on an individualized basis, cases are typically less severe, but because there are so many infections, you are seeing strain put on the hospital system. The percent positive rate has almost tripled in the US. It was hovering around 10% before Christmas. It's now nearing 30% of tests coming back positive. This is a consolidated graph from the CDC. It's from October of 2020 through current, showing the current daily case trend. Moving to the right is moving towards the present. And as you can see, obviously cases have taken off this post-Thanksgiving period. The yellow or the orange line overlaid on this is the rate of hospitalization in the US. And so again, you could see the kind of discrete surges here on the left of this graph is a winter pre-vaccine in 2020, 2021. And you can see that hospitalizations reached about 120,000. Those dropped throughout the summer and then bumped back up during the Delta variant wave in August and September. That dropped down, and now we are heading back up again. Similarly, in Massachusetts, cases have really grown. At the last meeting, the average number of new cases per day was about 3,600 in the Commonwealth. We're now nearing 20,000 cases per day. That's an increase of almost 5-fold, doing almost as many cases per day as we used to per week. Hospitalizations have increased significantly in Massachusetts as well. We're now that hospitalizations have grown by 76% since your last meeting. 2,600 folks are in the hospital, and actually the report that just came out an hour before this meeting, I think that number is closer to 2,900 now. So we've nearly doubled the amount of residents of Massachusetts in the hospital who have COVID in a span of 3 weeks. To put into perspective, the worst that ever occurred was in the very early days of the pandemic in March and April of 2020, when there was just over 4,000 residents in the hospital in Massachusetts. The key difference there was that there were field hospitals deployed at that time, and that is not the case today. Similar to the United States, the percentage of tests coming back positive is growing significantly. And these numbers typically don't capture people's at-home tests unless they're reporting them. Again, here's that consolidated graph of cases and hospitalization trends. This time, this is in Massachusetts. You could see that during the August and September months, when there was the Delta variant wave, our cases did go up, our hospitalizations did go up, but nothing like what we're seeing with the current variant. So in Easton, again, similar to what you're seeing in the US and in Massachusetts, cumulative cases during the pandemic, there have been 684 new cases of COVID in Easton since the 20th of December. That's almost 25% of all the cases we've seen the entire duration of COVID. Weekly new cases have grown from 120 cases per week to the most recent week of data, which is from Christmas to New Year's. There was roughly 378 confirmed cases in Easton, which is almost triple. And the percent positive has risen from shy of 4% to 16%. So this is what the weekly cases in Easton have looked like throughout the pandemic. You could see here the kind of pre-vaccine surge in December of 20 and January of 21, and a pretty precipitous drop off. There was actually multiple weeks this summer in Easton where there was 0 confirmed cases of COVID. There was the Delta variant, which again, you could tell from a perspective or a proportional view here, really was quite insignificant compared to the pre-vaccine winter. But now, as you can see from Omicron, it's just the level of cases is nothing like what we've seen before. Similarly, our test positive rate has gone up dramatically. However, it's still a bit below. The current test positive rate in Massachusetts is 23%. So at our last meeting, I touched on leading into the holidays, we rolled out a few strategies, both internal to the organization and also for the public. In response to this, masks are required for everyone in all of our public facilities, regardless of vaccination status. We have been running asymptomatic surveillance rapid testing for all of our personnel the week following Christmas, New Year's, and we're going to actually continue that again for at least one more week. It's been very well received. We've actually had 0 staff test positive during those test clinics each Wednesday of each week, although we do have personnel out with illness not detected at work. We've been offering booster clinics and test clinics for the public. We've been basically doing one of each every week since the first week of December. We've continued that through the holidays, and Assistant Town Administrator Blanchard is going to touch on what we're going to be doing moving forward in January when we get to the next step slide. Just looking at where we are with vaccine and testing efforts. We've had about a dozen of these clinics since the beginning of December. We've administered, or our partners have administered, more than 800 doses of vaccine during that period of time. We're currently doing between 100 and 300 tests for the public each week. December and January are on track to be the busiest months for EMA, particularly health and fire on the vaccine and testing front of the entire pandemic. We're going to continue to run these test and vaccine clinics as long as we have supply and folks are signing up for the clinics. They are typically midweek, and we usually have them booked early in the week. And I think we actually just rolled one out a couple hours before this meeting. Michael, do you want to just pop in and let the board know what we're planning for this week and what we think the next couple of weeks might look like?
Sure, absolutely. So as Connor said, the kind of game plan is to schedule 1 testing clinic and 1 booster clinic per week, with 2 kind of limiting factors to that. One will be the supply. We continue to request both testing and booster supplies from the states as long as we continue to receive those, and then also demand. So for this week, we have a public testing clinic on Wednesday, the 12th, from 4 to 6 at Frothingham Hall. As Connor mentioned, that was posted just before your meeting started, and it's 200 tests available. We're at 53% full. So you can see the demand is definitely there. There's 94 slots available. That's on our website, easton.ma.us/COVID-19. It's also shared via social media as well. And then we have a planned booster clinic this Friday from 12 to 5. That is also at Frothingham Hall. That link and clinic information has not gone out yet, but that will go out by Wednesday. So people have an opportunity to sign up for that as well. And then, as Connor and I mentioned previously, we'll continue to look to do that each week based on both the supply and the demand. So we'll keep people updated as we move forward.
Thank you, Michael. And then this is just a visualization of the vaccine we've administered so far. As you can see, December was really by far the busiest month for boosters. And also we had the 150 first doses for kids 5 to 11. And I believe that second dose clinic proceeded smoothly despite 8 inches of snow last Friday. These charts are starting to get really large because they keep adding data fields. Now we're capturing who's getting their boosters, but really the bottom line here is of eligible residents 5 years and up, 76% of residents in Easton are fully vaccinated. 30 and up, you're looking at 89, 90, 95% fully vaccinated. And you're seeing some major uptick with kids 5 to 11. That's gone from 30 to 40% fully vaccinated in the 3 weeks since the last update. Obviously, those have only been authorized for a brief period of time. Kids 12 to 15, not over 90% have gotten their first dose. You're nearing 80% fully vaccinated. So that's really great to see. And then on the right, you have the highlighted column for boosters. You're seeing now in Easton, residents 65 and up are 65% have received their booster, which is great. That offers important protection against hospitalization and severe illness. And you are starting to see some uptake with younger populations as well. So that's what I have prepared. I'm happy to answer any questions if the board has any on this topic.
Any questions? Nope.
Jamie, just a comment that, yeah, even with the snow, my kids were able to get their second shot this past Friday, which is, again, I can't commend everybody who's been involved. Connor, Michael, and the department heads, everyone that's participated to make this happen as efficiently, especially with all the added obstacles over the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's been seamless for the population of Easton to continue to participate in the program. So thank you very much for the hard work. And as we got done shoveling, my wife went on to take the kids to get their second shot Friday. So it was pretty impressive.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for keeping us posted on that. And thank you, Michael, for your work in getting these to stand up as well. All right, next on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes dated December 20th, 2021.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger, Lamb,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. Town administrator notes.
I have none.
Okay. Select board notes. I guess I would just like to say thank you to the DPW for the great job that they did with snow removal. Luckily, from my perspective of a shoveling standpoint, it was not super heavy and not super cold. So glad to have that first snowstorm behind us, and it was pretty, and that's plenty for me. So with that, if somebody would like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger, Lamb,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Have a good week, and we'll see you in a couple more weeks.
Yep. Stay safe,
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.